It's time to speak to one of the finest thinkers of his generation, the best-selling author of The War on the West, The Strange Death of Europe, Bloody Sunday and The Madness of Crowds, Douglas Murray. We have a lot to discuss, including the war on the truth and free speech on social media sites. But let's start with the ongoing immigration crisis in the US. The Biden administration has lost control of the southern border. There were more than 2.7 million illegal crossings last year, breaking the previous annual record by more than 1 million. The impact is being felt far and wide, including in New York, where today Mayor Eric Adams led a rally calling on the White House to do more. But the messaging was confusing there, Douglas, because Adams wants harsher policies to stop the flow at the border, but he's also saying let those crossing illegally, let them work legally in the US. Yes. Won't that just incentivise more economic migrants to cross illegally?
It has to do that, Rita. I mean, look at it this way. Of all hundreds of millions of people in Central and Southern America, almost none of them can dream of an average American salary, an average American wage. Something like, I think it's $1,000 a month is the average wage in Mexico. In New York, it's 4 times that a week. Of course, people want to move from countries that are not doing that well economically and badly governed very often into a place where there's a lot of opportunity. The question is, what are the countries that have those opportunities meant to do? And the moment that you do this, you do what Mayor Adams has argued, what Governor Hochul has argued, and say that the moment a migrant gets to America, they should be able to, as it were, pay their way and therefore be allowed to work, is nonsensical. Look at it already. People are leaving poor countries. They are going to one of the richest cities in the world, where they are being given hotels to live in. They will now be able to earn a salary. And I understand why the people in question want to come. But the point is that, you know, there is a legal process already to get work in America, which is extremely arduous to go through and expensive. And now these people, the Democrats want to say, oh, and also there's an illegal route. And if you want to come in that way, then that's not just fine, but better, because you'll actually have an expedited work request. And as I can never point this out often enough, if I can say so, Rita, the benefits that accrue solely to the migrant. The American taxpayers are not going to make money back in taxes from almost any of the illegal migrants in question. But the illegal migrants themselves will, of course, be able to send money home. The benefits will accrue to them. And I just think it is the question Americans have to ask themselves, as Australians have in the past as well, which is, can we really do this? Can we be the home for anyone in the world who wants to have a better standard of living? I'd have said the answer is obviously not, but some Democrat politicians think otherwise.
Well, if a country doesn't have control of its borders, well, it's not really a country, is it, if anyone can just stroll in as they wish? And as usual, Douglas, the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, is issuing what amount to bold-faced lies when asked about the migrant crisis and, in particular, Mayor Adams' comments. Let's have a look.
Why aren't you guys stopping the flow at the border?
We are stopping the flow at the border. If anything, what the president has been able to do on his own without the help of Republicans in Congress, something that he had to do on his own. The president has put a plan that is indeed, the data showing is that it is indeed slowing down the flow.
Just fantasy land stuff. Now, Douglas, some great news with a Sky News investigation leading to Facebook suspending activists from an Australian university, RMIT, posing as fact-checkers, masquerading as fact-checkers, who are helping suppress legitimate stories. Now, Meta's going to do an investigation and we'll keep an eye on what happens there. But this issue is not restricted to Australia. There is a very well-funded censorship industrial complex in the West, as Michael Schellenberger calls it. And, Douglas, it's a threat to free speech and, indeed, democracy.
It is. There's always that line, who guards the guardians? And in the case of these sort of fact checkers that have been put in, the question is, who fact checks the fact checkers? And the truth is that most of them that have been put in by various media organizations, the BBC springs to mind, have already shown themselves to be totally unfit for the task. These sorts of professional fact-checking sites who think that they can tell all of us what is true and what is false, as if anyone was qualified to do that for everyone on the planet at all times on every subject. These people have a very bad track record themselves. The BBC's fact checkers, among others, keep on making mistakes. So it's not really about fact checking. It's all under the guise of that. But a lot of this is just political positioning and political campaigning by another means. It's always very interesting to see what these so-called fact checkers are not interested in covering. The lies and the fibs and so on that they don't bother with. I mean, we just heard that from the White House press spokeswoman. She just told a total lie there. It's totally untrue what she said. Will these fact-checking sites be after her? I would have thought not, because she's on their side. They're on her side. It's only about attacking the right.
Absolutely. And it's why it's so dishonest, because people who are not so politically aware, they see something called a fact check and they presume it's just the facts. It's completely unbiased and down the line, and it's not. They've basically taken their activism and put a fact check title on it. Now, before we get to Prince Harry, I've got a clip of him I want to show you. I want to speak about this story of ignorant ideologues in the school system. This story has gone mad in the US. 12-year-old Colorado student Jaden was kicked out of class for displaying the Gadsden flag on his backpack, which triggered educators who told Jaden he would not be allowed to return to class because the "Don't Tread on Me" patch may be problematic for other students because of its origins with slavery. Here is a teacher talking to the child's bewildered mother.
The reason we do not want the flag displayed is due to its origins with slavery and slave trade. That is what was, that's the reasoning behind why we do not want this displayed. The Gadsden flag. The "Don't Tread on Me."
Douglas, this is a depressing state of affairs.
Yes, it is. I mean, ignorance piled upon ignorance. The teacher in question doesn't know what she's talking about. She thinks it's just a sort of conversation ender if she says erroneously, slavery. Good luck to this boy and his mother. The mother of this boy I brought him up to stick to his guns. Well, we could, and to stand up for his positions. We could all do with a bit more of that actually in our society, particularly in America. But these sort of commissars at this weak and ignorant woman at this school, laying down erroneous claims and making them the law. I wish that there was more we could do to get them out of the way, because as I say, it's not just that they're censorious, it's the fact that they're so ill-informed always, whilst expecting that they have the right to tell all the rest of us all the facts of history.
Yes, and that's the thing. She had her facts just completely twisted around, and the mother tried to enlighten her, but really to no avail. But the child's now been back allowed into school because that clip went viral and there was a lot of mockery of the school. But let's have a look at one of the teachers' cars. Look at the political signs like "Make America Green Again" and signs there about trans children. But "Don't Tread on Me" patch is apparently controversial. Give me a break. But I do feel sorry for this poor kid, because as brave as he is, and he's said he's going to stick to his guns, he's not going to be bullied, he's talking about now he's eating lunch alone, playing chess by himself, because the other kids are kind of picking on him for taking a stand. So that's quite sad that he's paying a price personally for knowing history. Now, finally, we've got to look at Prince Harry. He's got another doco go out where he's again talking about being let down, how he had no support after the tragic passing of his mother.
The trauma that I had, the biggest struggle for me was the people that no one around me really could help. I didn't have that support structure, that network, or that expert advice to identify what was actually going on with me.
But Douglas, back in 2017, he was full of praise for his brother for being such a great support.
It's all about timing.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me personally, you know, my brother, you know, bless him, he was a huge support to me and kept saying, you know, this is not right, this is not normal, you need to talk about stuff, it's okay, and all this. And the timing wasn't right.
Will we ever see this family healed, Douglas? One day William's going to be king. Will he have his only sibling there by his side?
You know, one of the things that's astonishing about hearing that, particularly the first clip, Rita, is just how untrue we all know it to be. I mean, for instance, the idea that he didn't have a support structure around him. Prince Charles, now King Charles, dedicated himself to his sons, in particular after the death of their mother, knew how much had to be done to help them. The late Queen, we know, was at Balmoral at the time, and the absolute priority for the late Queen and the now King was the boys. They did everything that a supportive family could do in their own way, for sure. And they're not, you know, a sort of a modern American emoticon family, but they know how to support each other. And the fact that Prince Harry not only wanted to sideline his brother and his father, but also the late Queen, and pretending that she and others weren't around for him. It's absolutely known and nonsense, this. We know the amount of support and the priority that the boys were. So really what this is, unfortunately, is yet another example of Prince Harry using the poor me narrative. It's never, nobody has ever suffered like Hunter Harry has suffered. Nobody has ever suffered sorrow like Hunter Harry has suffered. And so he has to not just talk that up, he has to diminish and demean the contributions and the support and the help he got from the people around him. It's incredibly sad, and it's an example of what happens when the woke mind virus just finds its way all the way to the center of what used to be your brain.
Well, the woe is me narrative appears to be the only narrative in Harry's brain. This is all we ever hear from him. It is not doing him any favours, certainly not making him look like a happy young man. He used to be just a joyful royal. Yeah. I mean, that's what people loved about him. And after the Queen, he was the most popular royal. And now I think his popularity has plummeted to Meghan and Prince Andrew levels. Douglas Murray, thank you so much for your time this evening.
It's a great pleasure.